What's up, guys? In this video, we're going to talk about raising your standards in your relationships, when to do it, how to do it, and what should it be. So the chance is high that if you're watching this video, you're someone that is already pretty well set in your life. You probably have a very good career. You're a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, a scientist, God knows what, an entrepreneur. Basically, you have your path figured out. You're probably also someone that takes care of yourself and who just wants to be the best version of himself in every area of his life. Yet in relationships, you have a very clear idea of what you would like to have around you. What is the perfect woman you want to have around? And you probably have met many women who are like that, to be honest. But even if you got into a relationship with one of them, maybe things didn't go as planned and you realize that the relationship didn't go well. That's usually the problem that I have with most of my clients that are very successful, very who are confident, have their shit together, is that they probably met their ideal partner, but then the relationship goes, in a very bad way. So you might be wondering what's wrong with me, and it's not necessarily wrong with you. It might just be wrong with your standards and how you communicate them. The first question that I always ask a potential client that gets on a consultation call with me is, what does your ideal relationship look like? And usually the answer that I get is, oh, she is blonde, she's tall, she's like this and that, she's probably, from this and that country, and she is open, cute, funny, she likes me, whatever. And that's exactly where the problem starts. When this happens, I know exactly what kind of issues I'm gonna run into down the road during the coaching. Because yes, you can meet that girl, and there's probably many girls who match this very superficial description, but then as you get into a relationship, there are other factors who start to come into play, specifically about how you interact together, what are your own freedom zones, what you're both allowed to do or not in the space of the relationship, and most importantly, people change. So you're not describing your relationship, you're just describing the person that you want to meet in a certain moment. That's that ideal that you want to meet. And just imagine that she matches it very well, and then both of you evolve. And that's the purpose of a relationship. Both of you evolving in your own way and seeing if you're still evolving together. And you can both, just go to completely different ways. And that's the problem with someone that has such superficial standards, is that you're probably going to filter out women that would have been perfect for you on the long run. Down the road, 1 year, 2 years, 10 years, 15 years, you guys would just be perfect together all the time throughout the duration. And instead of that, filter out those that match the superficial aesthetic standard, who are good in the moment, make you feel good, make you feel like you're validated, make you feel that you have found your perfect ideal and you have seduced her. That's great. But on the long run, that's not really how it works. So this is why it's important to have very clear and good standards. Now, again, there are two types of standards. There is those that are superficial, so basically about how is the woman. Some of them are necessary, but there are two types among these ones. There is those that you would like to have, the nice to haves, and there is the deal breakers. The nice to haves, they are definitely important because you are attracted by certain types of people, such as how their charisma is, their sense of humor, introversion, extroversion, the color of the hair. There are definitely things you're more attracted to. But these are not crucial. And I would say don't use those in a way to filter out people in the first place. Never use your standards to rule out someone straight away. Always get to know them. Always get to know them at least a little bit. Because that's a skill that is built over time. And I'm at a point where I can talk to someone for an hour and then know exactly how the interaction between me and him is gonna go 6 months down the road. I know exactly what issues are gonna come up, what drama is gonna happen, and so on. This is why, but by the way, if you get on a consultation call with me, even if you are interested, which happens after probably 20 minutes about what we're gonna work on, I always insist that we take the time and I ask you more questions, because that's basically a session for me to assess down the road what is going to happen, how you're going to react, and I can predict that pretty well. For the one simple reason is that I never hold myself back from talking to people that didn't match my standards. That's important. You can match with someone and discover that person and realize that there are things you haven't thought about. And I think everybody is like that. You probably had thoughts in the past about what you would like to have, and then you got into it and you changed, and so on and so on and so forth. It happens to me it used to happen to me all the time. I would have crazy standards as far as the physical appearance is concerned, and the character and whatever, and when I would start to talk to someone that didn't really necessarily match that but was a little different, I was like, wow, that's good. I wasn't aware that I would like that. And it's normal, because you can only judge and make standards and criteria based on what you know, not on what you don't know. So be aware that there's many women out there with whom you can match, even though they don't match your perfect paper description that you had in the first place. The second type of standards are deal breakers, those that you do not have. And these are based on a very good analysis. For example, I have been in a relationship in the past with my ex where she was highly ideological for certain things, and that's something that I didn't really like. I don't like to be controlled. I cannot have someone around who tries to control what I'm doing, because it restricts my freedom. If it restricts my freedom, I know this is something that is going to be down the road just counterproductive for me and for the relationship. So knowing this type of personality is something destructive with my personality. Once I knew to know myself, I know that this is something that is not going to work on the long term. Usually, by the way, with those kind of things, they all work if it's a one night stand. You can just get over everything, and you know that it's just for them and it's just for sex. But on the longer and for the relationship, the no's, what is not acceptable, is important, and that's something you need to communicate. Because if down the road you end up in a codependent relationship, or in a relationship where your partner is basically not respecting you, or where you kill the attraction between the two of you, it's simply because you have accepted to tolerate the steps that led to that. So it's important to know what you do not tolerate. Do not accept and do not tolerate what is not good for you, because if it's not good for you, it's not going to be good for a relationship. This will lead to, as I said before, you guys breaking apart. So when you're writing those standards today, make sure to write them down. Just pay attention to the differences. What are your standards for casual relationships, for one night stands, for long-term relationships, and when you write these down, I will invite you to do something very that probably nobody asks. When you write it down, read it very carefully, know exactly what you don't want. If you don't want her to go do drugs or whatever, do it. Have that in mind, and then destroy that piece of paper. Destroy that piece of paper, because your standards will evolve, they will change, and they will adapt. The key is to be congruent to yourself. The only standard that you really need to have is the congruence toward your feelings and your sense of self. That's it. Nothing else. When you're doing something you do not want to do, and you don't find a way to make it enjoyable, you don't find a way to create that in the relationship that fits you, that is good for you, that's a standard that you need to communicate and say that it's not okay. That's the only thing that matters. Everything else that you put on this piece of paper is garbage. It's garbage. Let me tell you that. You don't need that. What you need is to be really clear on what is important for you in your life, so that you never make sacrifices in your relationship, so that you never, ever compromise who you are, so that you can be with someone. That's really stupid. That's the mainstream idea that relationships are sacrifices, they are compromise. It's always a trade. There's even contracts when you get married. What the fuck is that? We're not meant to be like that. Relationships are meant to free you. Relationships are meant to push you forward. Relationships are meant to make you enjoy your life more. It's not meant to make you create sacrifices. This is the only standard that you need to have for yourself and for your partner as well. Your partner should be free. Your partner should have what your partner needs. And this is exactly what you should focus on. It's being congruent to your needs and wishes, so that you never make a sacrifice, and make sure you provide what your partner needs, as long as it fits your own sphere of integrity. Provide what the partner needs, so that the relationship is nurtured, and that's it. That's pretty much it. So see you tomorrow. Implement.